It's difficult. I don't want to downplay the reality of how dangerous the Russian government can be. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of Russian players with family back home that could feel in danger of what could happen to them. However, we see Pride Nights happening around the league. We see Russian players participating. There has been no repercussion for those Russian players, as far as we can tell to this point. The thing that bothers me the most, and I think we can have this discussion about the importance of the jerseys, and we will. What bothers me the most is that the team has not come out and addressed this directly. They issued a statement about Pride Night and what they're going to do and what it means and how they don't stand for any discrimination. They never acknowledged the jersey decision. So sources are speaking for them. People like us put the news out there when we get the reports, we get the sourced news. Mm-hmm. And who bears the brunt of those reports? It's Luke Richardson, it's Connor Murphy, it's Seth Jones, it's you, me, Mark Lazarus, Scott Powers, Ben Pope, Phil Thompson. Yep. It's all the people reporting the news that have to weather the storm of justifiably angry and disappointed Blackhawks fans. Meanwhile, Blackhawks leadership doesn't say a word about it. And that frustrates me. And if they don't want to acknowledge the Russian factor for whatever reason, here's how you can handle it if you're looking for my advice. You say, we have seen the reports. We will confirm the reports. Without getting specific, we have some concerns for our player safety. As such, they will not be wearing the Pride jerseys tomorrow. By Danny Wirtz and Jamie Faulkner not addressing this specifically to the fans and relying on sources to put it out for them and for media to weather the storm for this, I don't like that. I don't think, and look, we have a good relationship with them. Danny Wirtz came by our takeover. We had a really great conversation with both of them before the season began or early in the season, whatever it was.
Before the home game, first home game.
I think it's okay to have a good relationship and be critical, and I think they're dropping the ball on this. I think that there are a lot of Hawks fans, people in our chat, people have hit us up on DMs, people we talk to often, who are hurt and upset, and they're feeling unheard and unseen and unvalued, and those feelings are completely valid. And I want to point the thumb at myself for a horribly worded tweet last night. I said I'm not going to change anyone's mind, and I think it came off as me defending their position 100%. And that's not what I meant when I said it. I didn't want to delete the tweet because I felt like that would be cowardly. I knew I would have the chance to address it on the show, so I'm addressing it. What I meant by it is there's going to be people on both sides of this argument, and me talking about it all night on Twitter is not going to change the mind of anyone on either side of it. I went on and I presented the things they are doing, and I think that came off as quit bitching about the jerseys. Here's what's happening anyway. Again, not how I intended it. Poorly worded tweet. I probably rushed through a very important tweet, and I shouldn't have done that. But I just want to put my position out there officially. I'm hugely disappointed that the players that want to wear it can't, that they're not addressing. The thing that gets me the most is the fact that it's not being addressed specifically by the leadership of this organization. That, to me, we can argue till we're blue in the face about should they, shouldn't they, is the Russian thing real, is it not? I think some of it's real. I think it could also be a bit of a cop-out. I don't know the reality of it, okay? But it would be arrogant for me to dismiss the Russian factor because I don't know. Maybe one of the Russians said, I'm really scared. I'm really scared. And that's the difference, right? If Nikita Zaitsev or Anton Hudobin or Philip Kurashev said, I'm worried about my family if we do this. And the Hawks, with their new philosophy of doing right by their players, said, okay, we hear you. And maybe no one on the Sharks said that. Maybe no one on the other team said that. Fine. But regardless, it has to be addressed by the people at the top. It can't be left to sources to share the story and share it kind of vaguely and just give you there needs to be a Q&A. There needs to be follow-up things that can be reported on. And it's, I don't know, that is what is frustrating to me.
So this all comes out while they're on the road.
Yeah.
Their next home game is Pride night, and this didn't even occur to me until Greg, you mentioned it tonight. They play Saturday.
It's probably no morning skate.
Fly home and play Sunday in a 5 o'clock game. There will be no morning skate. So I don't know when the next availability would be for the front office or Kyle Davidson or Jamie Faulkner, Danny Wirtz, whoever, to address this from an organizational standpoint. And I think that is a huge missed opportunity to do something in this situation that would be the right thing to do. I don't think the right thing to do is not allow the players who want to participate in wearing the warm-up jerseys, which you can say is a small thing. Oh, it's just a jersey, but it's not. To the people that are part of the LGBTQ plus community, it's the most visible part of sports teams and NHL teams doing Pride nights. That's, I think, one of the more important things to that community is the visibility and the representation. Everything that the Blackhawks are doing with their charities, their community work, their initiatives, all the events that are still going to happen on Sunday night, you don't take anything away from that. Those are all still very important, and those are all still things that the organization is investing in, and that's great. I think what I understand from seeing things online, talking with people that are in that community, it's the representation of those teams, those players saying, like, we have your back. You are welcome to be a part of the NHL experience as a fan, as a player, whoever it is. And I think it's a huge slap in the face, kind of, to that community, when it's not just the Blackhawks, it's the Flyers, it's the Rangers, it's the Wild. It's continuously this year happening in the league, and it's just a huge step back. And I don't like the decision to pull out of wearing the jerseys. The concerns over what could happen to, the people in Russia and whatnot. I can sit here and say, well, I don't believe that, blah blah blah. Those could be legitimate. I'm not going to say that those can't be legitimate. But to me, it just seems like if you're worried about what could happen or ramifications or anything to your Russian players because of the Pride Night jerseys, wouldn't it be more offensive to host a Ukrainian heritage night or to honor, people of Ukraine, which they did just 2 weeks ago?
Well, also you see military appreciation nights all over the league, and Russian players are comfortable wearing military fatigues
for the U.S.
Canadian military. There's a disconnect there, and there's a lot of people in the chat, and Elton V has a $5 super chat, so I'll acknowledge it. I love your podcast. You're all literally bashing the Flyers comments about a similar situation. Why not keep the same energy about our team? First of all, we've been nothing but critical of the Blackhawks since the show started, so I'm not sure what you're listening to, but the difference with Provorov and the Hawks is
the Flyers still wore the jerseys.
The Flyers wore the jerseys, and Provorov said, my choice is to stay true to myself and my religion. That's all I'm going to say. The sources I spoke to yesterday said no one came to them and said, I have a problem with this I have a problem with this because of my beliefs. From what I was told, and every other reporter that apparently talked to similar sources said it was a security concern. It was a fear for safety.
The comments today from Luke Richardson and Connor Murphy before the game indicate that this decision came without consultation from the team. I don't have the quote in front of me, but I believe Richardson and Murphy's words, paraphrasing here, were basically, this decision was brought to us. We found out about the decision before we had discussions with the decision makers about that. And that's the sense I got from Murphy and from Luke Richardson. And Murphy, if you saw what he had to say to Mark Lazarus a few days ago in The Athletic, very pointed, very confident that everybody
Defiant.
Defiant. That's the word I was looking for. Very defiant that everybody in the locker room was on board to wear the jerseys, that they were going to wear it. It was something that is important to the players in that locker room and that team. And Laz asked him, like, have you had these conversations with the guys to know that that your statement's going to ring true? And Murphy said, I don't need to have these conversations because I know these guys in the locker room. I know this is something that we're going to do. And you have to take what Murphy said to heart, because besides Jonathan Toews, who's not currently playing but still around the team, Murphy's the longest tenured guy on this team.
Yeah.
The guy who's been in the locker room the longest. So if there's anyone currently on the active roster that would know the locker room, it's him. And for him to have those sentiments and those thoughts, those feelings, those words, and then to have it now, just a few days later, completely pulled out from under him and under the team, it appears. I think that's the wrong decision. The San Jose Sharks had a situation with James Reimer not wanting to wear the jersey, and the Sharks did a tremendous job of saying, look, this is what we're doing for Pride Night. This is how we're using our platform to educate people on social media. The jerseys were great. All the players besides Reimer wore them, and they did a fantastic job. And no one harped on the Sharks for the way that they handled it. It was Reimer.
That was it.
They made him go out and face the media.
Tonight, the Florida Panthers had their Pride Night. Their jerseys were great. And Eric and Mark Stahl said that we don't want to wear it because of our religious beliefs. The rest of the Panthers went out and wore the jerseys, and Pride Night went on without them. And from everything that I saw, the Panthers did a fine job tonight.
Yeah.
So it's
sorry.
So there are players in that Blackhawks locker room that wanted to move forward with it. I truly believe that. Without having those conversations, you see what Murphy says. I truly believe that there are players in there that would have still worn the jersey given the option. It just seems like they weren't even given the option. And that is one of the big problems I have with this.
Yeah. And, I know there's some people in the chat that are saying, let people make their own decisions, do what they want to do. They shouldn't be punished for that. Imagine if Seth Jones or Evander Kane or Wayne Simmons or, name another black player decided to not wear the military appreciation jersey.
Right.
Or like law enforcement night, first responders night.
Hawks wore first responder jerseys just a couple weeks ago.
Look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick for kneeling during an anthem and expressing how he felt about things at the state of the country at that time.
It would be a completely different response.
Absolutely.
It would.
Right.
The last 36 hours has been extremely frustrating on many levels. It's disappointing, the Blackhawks decision. Now, if there are legitimate threats or a player feels threatened or a family threat, okay, those definitely need to be taken in consideration. And if that's a legit reason, while disappointed, and there's probably ways to get around it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
My biggest issue on the Blackhawks side is what you said earlier. Get in front of it. Answer the damn questions, because we've had to spend, and everybody else that covers this team has had to spend the last day and a half getting asked these questions over and over again that we don't have answers to.
Right.
So go out and address it. Say it. Be transparent like you say you take pride in doing. Do it. Don't leave it to us to try. And this is how speculation gets crazy.
Yes, and it has.
It has. You know, people are just
like,
flat
who's
out,
the guy? They're
listen,
trying to dox Blackhawks.
This team cannot afford any more PR nightmares.
No.
They can't. It just seems that every time they get things moving in the right direction, they get people excited about things, they trip over they trip over the goal line.
Yeah.
You know, people were getting okay with things, getting the trust back, and this franchise has not earned the benefit of the doubt from the fans yet. And things like this are setting them back. But, you know, you have the whole Eddie Olczyk debacle over the summer, and that wasn't all on the Blackhawks. I'm not blaming them for that. There was blame that go around on that. But then this comes up after Connor Murphy says what he says, and Danny Orts told us in February he does not foresee a problem with their Pride Night.
Yep.
What happened?
Look, they had it last night with the same leadership in place. Rocky,
Right.
Danny, Jamie,
So-
Davidson were all in charge
And
for
I know
last year's
Pride
Pride
Night's
Night.
Last
not
year, yeah.
Pride Night's not canceled, but as Mario said, the jerseys mean something, and it's very easy for people in the chat and people on the Twitter that aren't affected by this stuff to get on their high horse and say, "Who cares?" or "People shouldn't be forced to do it." One of the most important people in my life has to deal with this bullshit every day that she wakes up. So people like her get to go to the rink and see her or his favorite player wearing a jersey that says,
I
"You're
support you."
welcome here."
Yep.
That's all it means, is you are welcome here. Making a marginal, like, we're worried about safety of people in Russia when every goddamn day in this country, some state is trying to take away the rights
Right.
of this exploited community.
Yeah.
This is why these Pride Nights have to happen. So if you're going to say, "I don't care," F you. I don't care that you don't care.
Right.
Or who cares? Lots of people care. There are people that are being targeted because of their sexual orientation. There are people who are having their human rights stripped away on a daily basis in this country, not Russia. So that's why these things are important and need to happen. And making a marginalized community within your fan base and society feel welcome within the doors of your arena should not be this complicated.
No, it shouldn't.
You either do it or you don't. And if this league had any kind of leadership with a sack, this wouldn't be a problem. You can't say we are inclusive and we want everybody involved, but we also welcome the opinions of people that don't want everybody involved. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
So either hockey is for everybody or it isn't. They have turned, and the Provorov thing set the precedent. We never had a problem with this. And then Provorov did it. Now other things are happening. And you want to say religious rights, you want to say fear of this, okay. Those are valid arguments. I don't agree with those arguments, but they're valid to that person.
Sure.
Because those are their beliefs. Fine. Not everybody needs to believe everything. But people should be allowed to live their life how they want to, regardless of what church you go to or any of that crap. Just let these people be themselves.
Yeah.
Who people are attracted to or what gender they want to identify as does not affect your daily life. It does not change who you are. They're not going to change anything that you do in your life. Let these people
Just
live.
let people live.
And
Jesus.
support them and show them, hey, I may not agree with your lifestyle, because frankly, most people that don't agree with it, just they don't understand it because they've been told one thing their whole lives or they haven't been exposed to it. And that's not necessarily their fault. But just saying, I don't understand where you're coming from, but that's cool. We could sit here and enjoy this hockey game together. And this is a problem throughout the sport. Not just the Blackhawks, not just the NHL. It's throughout the sport of hockey. It's a problem. I love this game, but the culture sucks. I've said that a million times. But maybe it's time for the NHL to get some leadership to just make a damn decision one way or the other on this thing. The leader we have now, all he does is care about living in this fantasy world that hockey's going to work in Arizona one day. You've got 3 decades of numbers that say it's not. Move on. How many outdoor games you want? How many shitty retro jerseys are you going to give us? Those aren't the things that are important. 31 years Gary Bettman has been in charge of the NHL. That's too long for anybody to be in charge of anything.
That's true.
So just let's get somebody in there that listens to the fans, all the fans, listens to the players, instead of just making sure his 32 bosses are happy. I know getting on into a Gary Bettman rant, but he could do something about this and just set a saying, we want everybody to be included, but we also want to have everybody have their own opinions, even if they're counterproductive to inclusion. Like, you can't have it both ways. So just don't do it at all. Don't pretend you give a shit if you don't.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the argument can be made that all of these cause nights are performative, and maybe something more needs to happen. But
Brad, you can turn off the show anytime you want, pal.
Yeah. And someone in the chat, I don't want to acknowledge them, said, "Can someone name me one piece of legislature that's affecting LGBTQ people?"
Dude,
here's the ACLU website. The ACLU website is tracking 430 anti-LGBTQ bills in the United States. 430 bills in the 50 United States. The American Civil Liberties Union is tracking right now. So there you go. Kevin, you can just boot Brad. That's cool. Go scratch.
Yeah.
I just look. We're trying to have a conversation here, and if it's upsetting you and you're not understanding, what we're trying to say, I'm just asking that you open your mind and not just digging your heels on it. I grew up in an area that was not very tolerant of different people, and people, you can change, you can evolve, you can find your own way, you can meet people that are different than you, and it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, don't be scared. Like, just listen to people. And it's, Greg has someone close in his family who, like he said, deals with this stuff every day. Like, name these human rights being stripped away, says Pete in the chat. Like, Google it, man.
Take your head out of the sand and pay attention.
430 dude. Anti-LGBTQ.
Just because it doesn't affect you.
There's a very famous bill in Florida called "Don't Say Gay." Like, honestly, like, what are we talking about here? Come on, we're talking about marginalized peoples.
You're actively not paying attention if you're asking that question.
Right.
Or they're watching Fox
Or you don't
News.
give a shit.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It doesn't affect me, so it doesn't affect me, so why should I care? Exactly.
2 ounces of empathy from everybody in this society would make this world a better place.
Be a lot different.
It just,
Go ahead.
No, I've rambled on enough. I've made my point. It's just these last day and a half has been so frustrating, and then it gets compounded with the Stahl brothers, and they're sorry. It's a BS excuse. You can't pick and choose the parts of the Bible you want to adhere to.
Yeah, I'm sure
it's frustrating.
Like you said, Greg, I'm sure both Stahl brothers were virgins at their wedding.
If they're devout Christians, they were.
Yeah, Mario, you said they don't wear 2 different kind of fabrics at the same time.
Can't wear clothing made of 2 different fabrics, and you can't work on the Sabbath. So whatever weekend games.
So yeah, he skips every Sunday game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just frustrating, and I know this conversation we're having is not probably changing anybody's mind based on some of the comments in the chat, but it needs to be said. And for the people that say, why do we need to have Pride Nights? When's heterosexual Pride Night? That's every fucking day.
364 days
all
a
right?
year.
Like, there's a reason these things need to happen.
You had it when they marched out the hot female of the center ice and played the stripper song for 50 years at Hawks games. Yeah. There's your heterosexual night.
It's a simple fact of just letting people be who they're supposed to be. Why does it bother you? Live your own life. When your life is perfect, you can start to criticize other people. Until then, focus on your own yard. So that's it. I mean, it's,
here, this guy, Marxist teachers talking about sex to kindergartners. What? What are you talking about?
Tucker Carlson.
Is this guy who probably thinks there's kitty litter for kids who identify as a cat? He probably thinks that's real too.
We live in an era of society where it is the easiest to get information, and yet people choose to believe absolute garbage. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah, Lebowski 5 points out too the ice crew.
Yeah,
you had the ice crew for years.
So it's just let people. I'm wrapping up. I swear. We'll get back to hockey. Just let people be whoever the hell they want to be. It doesn't affect your life.
Hockey is such a insular culture, right? Like it's dominated by, it is a white male wealthy dominated sport, and what we're hoping for is the growth of the game and the visibility of the game and the accessibility of the game, because the game, we all believe the game is so great that everyone should be able to enjoy it. And the accessibility as a fan, as a player for hockey has to be some of the worst of any sport in the world. You know why soccer is the #1 sport in the world? Because really all you need is a ball and something to kick it at.
Yeah.
You want to play youth hockey? Shell out $500 before you even sign up for the program, because you got to outfit your kid.
Yeah, thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and then they keep growing.
Yeah.
And they keep playing, and it is so expensive. So the growth of the game is important because, one, that means money. And the growth of the game is important because you should want other people to enjoy the game and enjoy what you also enjoy. And the exclusionary culture of the sport is what is trying to be broken down. That's why Pride Nights matter. That's why celebrating Black History Month matters in the NHL and in hockey. And that's why, young players, there's countless stories of young players who were forced out of the game because of who they were and what they identified as. And some players never got to realize their dreams because they couldn't be around the sport anymore, because the sport repeatedly told them that they weren't welcome. And I'm sure there's fans that feel exactly that same way, that they want to love hockey, but hockey doesn't love them back. And that is why it is important to have these nights where, you can say, like, you have an ability to say, like, you're welcome here. You're part of this community as well. Like, it's the hockey, the Blackhawks are open to you, or, whatever it is. And the current state of the NHL, as you were saying, with leadership, I don't think there is a lot of hope with the current state, but I'm more hopeful in where hockey can go in the next years, in the next decades, next generations behind us, because the average youth player, teenage age player, junior players now, kids are more open-minded than we ever were, that their parents ever were, and their parents ever were. And I looked, going through social media last night, I came across pictures from the Seattle Thunderbirds game on Tuesday night, and pictures from I believe her name was Michaela Gray. She shared them online. The Seattle Thunderbirds, if you didn't know, are the home to 3 Blackhawks prospects: Colton Dock, Nolan Allen, and Kevin Korchinski. They're also the team that Luke Prokop plays on. He's a Nashville Predators prospect who is openly gay. And likely might be the first openly gay NHL player in the near future. The Thunderbirds weren't having a Pride Night this year, but their fans organized a Pride Night for their game on Tuesday night, I believe it was. And the team, the players, had no connection to the night, no direction from the team, as far as I understand, to participate in it. But every player in warm-ups came out with their sticks taped up in pride tape as a show of support for the community, while the fan base was celebrating their own community-organized Pride Night. Multiple players continued to use the tape into the game. There was a picture that Michaela shared of Kevin Korchinski wearing pride tape to tape up his shin pads. So I look at that. I look back to when we talked with Jalen Lipin this last summer. He was a former teammate of Procops in Edmonton when they both played together there. And what he said about being teammates with him, they don't see him as, oh, he's a gay hockey player. They see him as, yeah,
teammate.
He's a teammate. He's a friend. He's a person. The humanization of people in that community, like you said, Greg, with all and Jay and bringing up the legislations, all those things are dehumanizing that community.
Yep.
So what Pride Nights can do in hockey and in the NHL is help represent that community, humanize them. And I think that is what is kind of being taken away when teams are opting out of these of the visibility, the wearing the warm-up jerseys. It's that is what is missing the point. But I think the players that are coming through in the next wave, the next generation, I think they get it, and that is what gives me hope that down the road we will see change in hockey.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope you're right, and I'm hopeful of that too. And then I look at the people that were at Woodstock and how many of them are now, and you're like, what the hell happened? What the hell happened?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, it's crazy. Your point of the marginalization. It's like, for one night, these people don't feel like others.
Right.
They feel like they belong,
Or they have to hide something.
Exactly. And these Pride Nights allow them to express themselves and feel celebrated for doing it, as opposed to hiding from it.
Right.
Where, oh, look, I'm at this Pride Night game, and I have all the support of the people in my community who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, or people that are here supporting me vocally. They, showing their support. That doesn't happen most nights for people in that community. And that's what it's different from first responders night, because everywhere first responders go, for the most part, first responders are respected. They get money off of, and same with military, 10% off at this restaurant, whatever, it's great. And they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it's not a marginalized group. Yes, there are people in this country who are anti-war, and there are people in this country who are anti-police brutality and whatever, right? Yeah. But overall, it is not an oppressed or marginalized group of people. Right? It's also, I like to say this, when someone challenges a gay lifestyle, it's like, when did you choose to be straight? What day were you like, women? Right?
Yeah.
You can choose to be a policeman. You could choose to be a fireman. You could choose to be in the military. Being gay is not a choice.
Right.
It's not a choice. So, because of something out of these people's control, they are marginalized. Same thing with race, right? Mm-hmm. It's out of your control. How you're born is out of your control. And, I don't know. We can go on all night with this. Really, we could do a 6-hour show on this. I just
it's the importance of feeling welcomed and supported. I think that's what it boils down to, because there are people that are not hiding about who they are, And because of that, they lose friends, they lose family. And there are people where maybe they have found friends and family through hockey, through being fans. And, you know, I think about those people and how they have to feel, Blackhawks fans who have to feel like, look, like this is the team saying that they are not as on board with me as I want to be with them.
I can name 6 Twitter accounts off the top of my head that have been saying that.
Yeah.
That have been saying, I wish the team I supported me as much as I support them.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do, but just these things, the optics of these things are a slap in the face to a lot of people. And it's unfortunate. And I just wish they would have handled this better to avoid all this. We're still getting questions like now, like, hey, did Rocky Wirtz have something to do with this? Like, well, no, because they did pride jerseys under his.
They did pride jerseys last year.
Yeah, so like,
everyone wore them.
But the longer they don't come out, and maybe they can't officially give the official, but at least
acknowledge
make something out there. The speculations are going to keep going. The conspiracy theories are going to keep growing and get weirder and deeper in the weeds. And nobody wins from the way this was handled. Nobody wins.
No.
The people who were looking forward to the jerseys are disappointed and hurt. And the Blackhawks don't come off looking good. Nobody wins from this situation. I just wish it was handled a little differently. And from there, we got the Minnesota Wild on Saturday. Can't freaking wait.
Well, cool. You know, so Pride Night has not been canceled, just so everyone knows.
They got a lot of great stuff planned.
And I'm not encouraging anyone to go spend money and support the Blackhawks on this if they don't want to, of course. But if you want to go to Pride Night and express your support, it's easy to do. Game Time is a place to get tickets. It's in our link in our bio. There are a lot of cool things happening at Pride Night that you should know about. Yesterday, they had an employee learning session with You Can Play. The team was on the road. I'm not sure how that worked. But
it's probably
people that work for the team, front office, had meetings. So game day from 1:30 to 2:30, the Chicago Gay Hockey Association has a family skate at Fifth Third Arena. There's a fireside chat hosted by Megan Hunter, who's assistant GM, and Brock McGillis. That's on March 26th from 3:15 to 4 in the Skyline Room. Pre-game, there will be live entertainment from DJ Vernimal, a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, and the Chicago Gay Men's Chorus will perform. They're also going to perform during the game, and during intermission, the Chicago Gay Hockey Association will showcase their skills in a competition. So that's not it. There's a bunch more going on. So there are Pride Night festivities happening.
A bunch of things going on in the atrium before the game as well.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks, when they do these kinds of events, do them well. They plan the events well. So it is more surprising and disappointing that something like this seemed to be handled in a poor manner.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's always, again, we could do this for 6 hours, and I don't know. I know we probably didn't change any minds, but hopefully, you know, some of the people that aren't understanding why these things are important have come into this podcast with an open mind, and maybe they'll take some time for some self-reflection or to look some of these things up, look up some of these legislations. The ACLU website has them listed. You can go state by state. You can read the entire law and see all these things that are being put in place throughout this country. So, yeah, I encourage you. I mean, look, it's never too late to grow. It's never too late to become more educated on a topic. So please do.